Okay guys, welcome back. Now, I've jumped on tonight because I received a message this morning from a guy who's having a pretty hard time. He's got most of the Western media against him at the moment. So, looks like he's having a bit of a change in occupation. So, I better jump on and give him a bit of a hand because we like to help everyone out. Mr. Putin. So, things obviously aren't going too well over there in Russia at the moment. I know you've got the whole Western media against you at the moment, but obviously they don't follow history a lot. So, your question. Hi Kieran, love your vids. Please, can you kindly do a video on line pull? As a new operator, I've never been able to manage to work out what it is and how to calculate it when operating a crane. I can't ask anyone. Please help me with a video explaining it. I'm sure it's be helpful to other new operators. Alright, so I do have a problem with that. Now that is, if you're not sure of what you're doing, never be afraid to ask anybody else. Now, as far as winch line pull goes, so long as you put the right configuration into your computer should deal with it anyway. But you still need to understand what it is. So what the winch line pull is, essentially, on a single line, how much force that winch can pull. All right, if you try and overdo it, the winch can give way on you, or you may snap the rope, but more likely the winch will give way because the rope should have enough of a safety factor to built into it anyway. All right, so what we'll do is we'll have a quick look over here and we'll look at a lee bear. So I want to just swap over to here. So on our lee bear chart here, what we can see is both our main, number 1, and our auxiliary, number 2, they are both good for 45 kilonewtons. So if we look down here, 45 kilonewtons is roughly 4.5 ton. Alright, so for every kilonewtons, roughly 100 kilos, so 45 of them equals 4.5 ton, which means on a single line we could now lift 4.5 ton. Now, as we put more parts of line into the main hook, so if we had a single line, we could only be good for 4.5 ton. If we put 2 lines in, we're then good for 9, 3 parts, 13.5, etc., etc. So it just goes up that way. But make sure you always look back to your load charts because things do change. But you need to be careful because if we roll up here, it should have it in here somewhere, I would imagine. Alright, so if we work these out, so let's actually pull up our calculator. Alright, so if this is saying if we've got a 7-sheave hook block, which means you can have 14 parts of line. So if we got 14 parts of line, if we go 14 times 4.5 equals 63 ton. Right. Now, if you notice here, you can only actually lift 55 because if you go back to your basic rigging and you're looking at the winch and allowing for friction in the sheaves, the load chart's going to give that to you as well. All right. Now, you're not going to be expected to work it out, but look, it depends on the crane. So, for example, I used to drive a 50-ton Tadanos and Katos a lot. It used to be the old bread and butter crane, the old truck mounts, and they had a winch line pull of 4 ton. Now, we'd always travel on the road with 4 parts of line in it. But if you got to a job, so with 4 parts of line, 4 times 4 is 16, so 16 ton was the maximum you could lift. Now, if you rocked up to a job and the load was going to weigh, let's say, 21 ton. All right, no, better yet, let's say 20 ton. Now, we could put one more fall in it, which means our winch line pull 5 times 4 is 20, so we could put one more part of line in it and we can lift the 20 ton. But why would you go right on the edge of it? Because sometimes you will find the winch, look, depending on the crane, sometimes you will find the winch will really struggle if it's at its max. So in that instance, if you were right on the money, you just put that extra fall and go to 6 parts. And look, I personally prefer to always try and keep even parts of rope in the line anyway. But you put it into 6 parts, so your winch line pull then allows you to pull 24 tonne. All right. So basically you look at the load and that will help you decide how many parts of line you're going to need in order to get it in. All right, so whatever your winch line pull is, just divide the weight of the load by your winch line pull, and that will dictate how many parts of line you need to have in it. All right, now another thing I'd just like to mention on the winch line pull is if we go back down here, all right, so we can see both our main and our headache are the exact same. Now that's not going to be the same on every crane. All right, so let's say, for example, I'm trying to think whether it was the Cabelco or the Manny. Pretty sure it was a Manny 16,000. Don't quote me on this, I'm just going off the top of my head. But its main, the winch line pull on the main drum was 16 tonne and on the headache was 13 tonne. So they're not always going to be the same on both hooks. So make sure you do look at your load charts and you get that information as well. All right, now, if you are looking at the computer to try and get your winch line pull, make sure you're looking at the right hook as well. All right, so if you're going to be using the main, just drop the main back to one part in the computer, look at what your maximum load can lift, and that'll pretty much guarantee it. That's what that winch line pull is going to be on that crane as well. All right, so I hope that answers your question, Vladimir. I hope things get a bit better for you over there in the east. And remember, it does get pretty cold there in Russia, so I've just got these new hoodies. Now, let me spin around. I don't normally wear a hoodie, but let's have a look. Right, so, wet steel, no deal. All right, so, if you do want a new hoodie, help you keep warm there in Russia, I believe it gets a little bit cold. You may be coming into summer, but I still think it's going to be pretty cold to what most of us are used to. So jump online, jump onto the shop, grab yourself a hoodie. If it is a bit warm for you, you can always grab it in a t-shirt or a singlet as well. All right. So hope that explains everything. Thanks for listening, guys. And don't forget, if you do want to keep updated, don't forget to like and subscribe. And on Sunday night, that's tomorrow night at 6 p.m, we'll do another live show. So if you do have any questions or any other questions you want answered, just jump online and ask away. All right. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, guys. So, and don't forget, if you do want to keep updated with anything new that's coming out, don't forget to hit that like and the subscribe button. You do have any questions you haven't got time to come on tomorrow night, just leave it in the comments below and we'll try and get it covered for you. That way you can come back and watch it at any time you like. All right, no worries. Cheers, guys, and have a good night.